All right, folks, it's time for another Working the Web to Win. And today we're going to talk about making pay-per-click pay big dividends. Now, you've been doing a lot of pay-per-click. I know I have.
Pay-per-click for years.
But you know what the thing is? Most people think that, any trained chimp can do pay-per-click. I mean, you pay your money and you're on the page, right?
Right.
But what they don't realize are all the bells and whistles behind the scenes that can really have a big effect on their success or failure, because all that you're generating is what?
Clicks.
A click.
As a matter of fact, if they look at that video of the chimp throwing the money around, that's what most paid chimps do.
Exactly.
Money gets thrown around. Doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about fine-tuning your PPC so you can get some decent ROI. But before we do that, I'm going to let Hector introduce our sponsors.
So, we want to thank our sponsors, Tub King and MedMasters. Of course, Tub King sells customized bathtubs and accessories featuring the elegant slipper tub and the highly therapeutic walk-in tubs. And MedMaster, of course, is the premier online job board and social networking community for healthcare and medical professionals. The best and the latest, and of course it's free to join. For our cyber friends out there, you can call into the show and be famous for a few minutes here by dialing in 213-943-3808. That's 213-943-3808. Of course, you can go to workingthewebtowin.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and now YouTube.
Most people want to have their 15 minutes of fame. Well, on this show, it's only 30 minutes. So you get your 15 seconds if you call in. That's about all the time we have
or
for
maybe 30 seconds, maybe,
if we like you.
If you got a really good questions, you get 30 seconds.
But when you're talking about fame, I mean, the company that got famous, or at least rich from pay-per-click, of course, is Google. I mean, that's where they make a lot of their revenues.
As a matter of fact, it's a major portion of their revenue. And it depends on whether you're just talking about pay-per-click or their network, because that's a different kind of pay-per-click, if you will.
Well, that's the whole point. There's a whole bunch of different flavors. And obviously, Google isn't the only one that has pay-per-click.
One of the articles I read that's actually on the notes page, if they go there and look at it, it talks about what does Google's profit mean. So when you go through the article, essentially they're saying that they're making more money than ever off of their pay-per-click, and that's because it's getting harder and harder to get onto page one of Google search in organic.
Well, it's definitely a lot more complicated, and we covered that a couple episodes back. I mean, there's a lot of work you have to do, but the good news is if you can get on organics, it's all you can eat buffet.
Right.
But that's no free lunch either. In fact, there is no free lunch online anymore.
As a matter of fact, our new book, which is on sale right now,
Working the Web to Win, that's right on Amazon.
It's 40% off on Amazon, covers pay-per-click, all the different aspects of really online marketing, whether it's touch marketing or social media or search engine push or
Well, we could
blogging.
write a whole book just on pay-per-click because, I mean, there's just so many different levels. It's kind of like an onion.
Right.
You peel off one layer, and there's another layer below that, there's another layer below that.
Well, not only that, there's several different platforms. So you got Google, you got Yahoo, you got Bing,
Facebook.
You got MSN has their own separate thing. There's several different networks. AOL has their own network.
Yeah, and guess what? None of them work like the other ones. They all have their own little bells and whistles. Right. And unless you understand the bells and whistles, you can go through a pile of money very quickly. I mean, even people that have tried, Google, like Google's pay-per-click AdWords, they find out very quickly that it's very easy to get clicks, and it's a whole different story about getting conversions. And a lot of times what happens is because you're not targeting the advertising right. So we're going to talk about some of these things because there's all kinds of different things you have to do. First of all, the first thing that people see, of course, is your ad.
Yeah.
And, you've only got so many words in which to entice somebody to even click. So that's right there. If you don't get past that, you're going nowhere.
Yeah, and again, there are more than one kind. So you have text ads. You also have video ads now. You have picture ads. There's lots of different kinds of things that are out there.
Well, let's just talk about a text ad, which is usually where most people get started.
Yeah, and again, what I always tell people is before you jump into the water, you want to make sure you know what's in it.
That's right.
And that really starts with doing your homework, doing your research. I mean, I read lots and lots of articles by other people. They pretty much confirm everything I said. That's why I was telling you earlier when I was reading all these other things. People are finally coming around to what we've been saying for years. But research is where it all starts. If you don't start by doing your research, you're going to hurt yourself. And that research starts really with looking at the keywords.
That's right.
And when we were talking about what's in the ad, the keyword got to be in the ad. It better be in the ad. If it ain't in the ad, even if you buy that position and that keyword,
you're not going to have high relevance.
nobody's going to click on it. That's right. They're going to say, oh, it's a trick. So the keyword, understanding which keywords to pick, and people always, well, how do you know what the? Well,
ask Google.
Google's one of the best places to look. There are other keyword things. I mean, there are other keyword tools out there, but Google's probably free for the most part to use it, and that's where I would tell people to start. But you want to make sure that you have that relevant keyword, and it's not just the right keyword. You want to make sure it's not the wrong keyword.
That's right.
So one of the things that most people leave out is negative keywords. So in my article today, I talked about, if you want to find oranges from Florida, that's the key phrase that they're looking for. You better have oranges from Florida in your ad.
Right.
You better be paying for oranges from Florida.
And you better lead them to a page that talks about oranges from Florida.
Right. And then if you want to make sure that people aren't looking for the history of oranges in Florida, because if they click on it, you're going to pay for that anyway. That's the negative key phrase that you would take out. So having both positive keywords and negative keywords in there are very important. And it's not just one. You better buy a bunch of them because you really need to test what are the best keywords.
That's right.
What are their best phrases and so on.
Well, and also, even once you start running your ads, you don't want to have one ad. You want to have probably about a half a dozen of them so you can test those.
Yeah. In my article, I say you want to have a minimum of 4. Generally, when we set these up, we will set up a campaign, and it'll have 6 ads, and it'll have multiple phases of the campaign. So it'll be different angles to the same campaign. And then we let it run its course for a while to figure out what those things are really doing. And if they don't do that, if they're not willing to spend the money to test those keywords, they're really going to shoot themselves in the foot. They're going to make an assumption that's going to, make them you and me type of thing. They're not going to really. They're probably going to throw a whole bunch of money away in the
States. They're going to assume?
Yeah, they're going to assume. Yeah, I mean, they're going to just find out that they assumed themselves.
Kicked yourself in the assume again, did you?
It never ceases to amaze me. I mean, I've seen lots of clients, they go in there and do that, and you know what the phrase this is? Hey, that stuff doesn't work. All I get is, I don't get any sales. Well, that's because you assumed.
That's right. Well, and the thing is, too, is just not getting the result, it might not even be the effect of the ad. It might be effect of where you're pointing the ad. Right. Because a lot of these people, they make the mistake of bringing them to their homepage, and, their homepage might be talking about this, might be talking about that. It might not be talking about the thing that the ad was talking about. And today, people have the attention span of gnats. They're not going to waste 30 seconds looking for it. If they don't see it as soon as they land, they're out of there. So you just bought a click.
Right. By the end of the article, we talked about the 5 elements that you got to have and so on. And we'll get to them before the show's out. But again, there's many, many elements. And this article that we talk about covers all the elements. I mean, it really goes step by step by step.
How about the giraffes? Just the elephants?
Just the elephants.
Giraffes are on their own today.
So we talk a little bit about ad copy, how important it is, and how it has to point to the right place. The position of the ad, where it actually, what position you bought in your auction.
That's right, because everybody thinks, you got to be number 1 to get all the gravy, and that's not the case at all.
What you're doing is you're paying
too much
for the gravy.
Well, and in fact, you can be in position 2 or 3. Actually, 3 is probably optimal.
Yeah, that's a low price.
And actually generate more clicks than the guys that's on top if your ad is better. Right. So there's a lot of different things, but the thing is, you're not paying retail for that ad.
You're not paying the top dollar.
Right.
And I always say, if you can get 3, great. If you can't get 3, maybe 4 or 5, which are still above the fold and pretty much in the visible area.
Yeah. Usually I shoot for 3. Yeah. That's your optimal
3 is
slot.
the ideal slot. If
you're right on top of the page, you're in the middle.
And you can get that if you want. I mean, again, if you're bidding and you're not getting it, just up your bid. I mean, a lot of times people are cheap and they don't want to bid to get the position they want. The reality is, if you don't bid enough, you're going to get low quality clicks, unrelevant clicks, that kind of stuff on a regular basis. So the paid position is extremely important. You want to be above the fold. If not, you're going to get really low quality clicks, low clicks, and your money will last a really long time.
But you're not going to get
the right kind of conversion and so on. A/B testing is the piece that I really like to talk about. I know when we're in Growth Coach and we're talking to Steve and the Action Coach is big about A/B testing.
Right.
A/B testing your ads is a must. For those out in the cyber world who don't know what A/B testing means, essentially it means you take 2 similar ads and you run them simultaneously and you see which one does best. Ideally, in the pay-per-click world, what you would want to do is do your A/B testing across platforms. Obviously, you're going to have a bigger budget to do that, but you want to be able to test it on Google, Yahoo, Bing, Facebook,
Right.
LinkedIn, and so on. Put it across multiple platforms and see how it works.
Well, plus sometimes you're going to get a better bang for your buck on another platform because everybody wants to go to Google, but when you're paying for a click, you're paying for a click, and sometimes we found out some of our clients actually get higher ROI on some of the other pay-per-click engines because of the fact that maybe the demographic's better for that particular client.
As a matter of fact, there's an article.
Because like Yahoo has consistently older, has an older demographic. So
well, there was an article in Entrepreneur.com, and it was talks of the 4 popular pay-per-click platforms, which is best for you. And they talk about Google, highest traffic, and so on, most relevance.
Right.
But Yahoo and Bing, their big deal is a lower cost per click. That's a big deal. And they have great customer service.
That's right.
Now, they also have lower traffic and limited growth, but again, if it's the right demographic for you, it can be a really boom. They also talked about Facebook and how Facebook also allows you to have psychographics that you can zoom in on, like not only how much do they make and where they live and what books they read and all. You can get into all kinds of detailed stuff on that. And then they also talked about advertising.com, which is owned by AOL. And what's neat about that is that allows you to advertise essentially ads on the Huffington Post and all these other news services that can really get you some pretty good traffic. So there's some pretty good things out there. Google is not the only player in town, although they're the biggest and probably have the most traffic by far. But Facebook has a huge database to be able to call through. And again, if people are looking to highly target a specific database, Facebook is probably one of the better places, and the cost per click is usually a little bit lower than Google. But again, different platforms usually will require a different message. One of the things I've found is if you take the same message and run it across different platforms, you'll see it act very differently.
Right.
And then one message that actually did poorly on one might do extremely well on the other one. So when you got your 6 messages and you run them all simultaneously, you'll find all kinds of really cool things. And if a person's willing to spend $1,000 or $2,000 for a month or two to really see what's going on, and they plan on doing this campaign for a year, then they've really spent their money wisely because now they know what's really going to work. And from now on out, they're going to get their best bang for the buck for the most part. So different platforms, different messages. If they don't do that,
Yeah, well, plus even within the platforms, one of the things that I found out, because we've had this happen before where clients come to us and they're not doing well, and we go and we look at the settings, and we find out that they've got people coming in from overseas when they don't sell overseas, or they're pitching across the entire spectrum of ages when maybe they're only working with a very narrow age. You have to know where all these bells and whistles are. You've got to do your settings so that you can kind of cull the herd, because if not, they're just going to hit you with everybody on the planet that they can get in front of you.
Well, that was one of the cons on this other article that I was just mentioning about, where they were talking about AdWords. Well, AdWords is sort of a monster to set up. I mean, you really got to know a lot of stuff to be able to go in there and set that thing up properly. And if you have them set it up, it's my opinion, they will set it up so it helps Google as much as possible.
Yeah, but I mean, even people that are trying to set it up on their own, a lot of times they miss a lot of the fine-tuning that is really important.
They never put in negative AdWords. They don't geo-target it properly.
That's right. All those things are very, very important, or else you're just going to get plugged into this waterfall.
Right.
And that's not a good way to advertise.
And you can blow through $1,000.
You can go through it very quickly.
Pretty easily.
And then they'll come out and say, I tried it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, it's just like any endeavor. If you're going to start out, one of the things you really have to do is you have to plan. You have to have a plan. And with any plan, you have to set goals. And in the testing world, goals should be SMART. So what I'm saying about SMART, I'm talking about the acronym SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-board. If they're not, you're probably going to throw away a bunch of money.
Right.
I mean, if you're just sort of doing it by feel or what you think is the best and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know how many times I've actually come up with ideas and put together ads and then run them thinking that this ad, the number one ad is going to be the winner. And it ends up being a dog.
Yeah.
And the one that I thought sucked ends up being the winner.
Right.
And even after I've been doing this for, I don't know, since 98 or something like that, you still get surprised, because the only way to really know who the winner is to test.
Yeah.
And setting up goals specifically in advance makes a big difference.
Well, and even testing, it has to be done in ways, because this is a very complicated procedure. Like one of the articles I have here by Search Engine Journal, it says 20 ways to increase conversion rate optimizing for pay-per-click advertising. Because that's the other side of the equation. Because first you're going to generate the traffic. Okay, right. Are you getting the traffic you want? Okay, yeah, we've done that. Now the question is, what do I have to do to get them to buy? And that's a whole different ballgame.
A whole different animal altogether.
And a lot of times that has to do more with not so much the pay-per-click engine, but the landing pages.
What's in the landing
What's
page?
The experience that they're getting when they actually hit?
In my article today, I gave you kudos because I've actually quoted you a couple times in there. So
that's why my ears are burning.
That's right. When you're setting up your SMART goals, they have to be based on some things that are based in reality. For example, if your goal is to get 1,000 click-throughs a month and you have a budget of $250, that probably is not going to happen. You have to have realistic budget, and your time frame and your conversion rates and all those things have to be based on something like reality. So, for example, if you've been in business for a while, you should have some kind of idea of what weekly sales are and monthly sales are and quarterly sales and annual sales and so on. And those numbers are what you're going to try and set up as your goals or to exceed those numbers into the future. And that's where you're going to be then looking at your sales funnel, and your monthly goal is to have 15 clicks, and of those 15 clicks you convert 5 and so on. And if they're not doing that, again, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. I talk about conversion also in this article. And a lot of it for me is, I always like the phrase that you used. If the phrase that they type in is the question, then the landing page has to be the answer. And not only that, it has to be the perfect answer. Because if it's not the perfect answer, you get boing, they bounce off and go somewhere else.
And you paid for that click.
Or if it's a confusing answer, or if it's a muddled answer, or any other,
confused mind always says no.
Right.
So you have to make it concise.
And here's one of the articles I read also, the 4 popular pay-per-click factors, which is best for you. But again, getting back to the elements on the landing page, if they don't have the right elements, they're going to get boinged out all over the place.
So what are the right elements?
Speaking of the right elements.
Right elephants.
The right elephants. The first one is you got to have the right heading, and that heading has to be based on the keywords. If it's not the right keywords, when they get there, they're looking for oranges and they see apples, they're gone.
Also, the text should be based on the keywords, and you should probably have a video in there.
The focus message has to be on the keywords. It has to be easy to understand and competitive. So there has to be some kind of offer in there.
Yeah, it has to be a compelling offer.
A compelling offer.
Not just buy my stuff.
Yeah, my stuff is great. Ain't going to work. Okay. They have to have a testimonial. I like video testimonials best of all. Written testimonials can work if they are like copies of postcards or letterhead, with the people's names and all that kind of stuff. Actual scanned copies of real documents, not snippets. The snippets don't work. And the last one is easy to find contact information, and that contact information has to be complete. Address, phone number, map.
How many times you go on a site and you can't find a phone number, you can't find an address.
You can't contact the people.
So guess what? They can't be for real.
Right.
And even if they are, that's perception that they're giving to people.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. All these elements, if at all possible, have to be above the fold.
That's right.
So for our listeners out there, if you don't know what the fold is, in the old newspaper magazine world, when you folded the magazine in half, what was on the top of the newspaper? That's the fold. Well, if you're using your laptop, what's on the top of the screen when you land there? That's the fold. So if you're above the fold and all the information's there, that's a real big, important piece.
And I want to make another little comment, because some people will say, well, I really don't want to be taking the time to answer a lot of phone calls. So why should I have a phone number? Well, first of all, you can set up a Google phone number,
for free, and take messages, and
it'll take messages for you, so you don't have to. But the point
and it'll send you a text.
But the point is, you get somebody that wants to buy your stuff, and they're going to take the time to actually pick up the phone and give you a call. I'd want to talk to that person. Man, that's a fish that wants to be reeled in.
Right. And on top of that, you really want to have that special number so you can track that as another way of tracking what's going on.
But like you said, if you're not there, it'll take a message. It has a voicemail feature and everything. Because the point is what that does is it makes you credible. Yeah. Because, like I said, if there's no phone number, if there's no address, there's no email, I wouldn't buy from them.
Yeah. I mean, the real reason that you have these 5 elements is to build your credibility with the client. Because one of the biggest problems on the internet today It's the Wild Wild West. It's
Scam
scary.
Central.
Yeah. I mean, people are ripping people off left and right.
That's right.
And the more you can give them the warm and fuzzies, the greater the chance of them picking up the phone, filling out a form, or placing an order.
That's right.
And that's what you're doing. I mean, we can do pay-per-click all day, but if they're not doing those three things, the pay-per-click is not doing. The money's going down a hole.
You're going to waste a lot of money.
And the reality is, I mean, people often is, well, what is your return on pay-per-click? Well, if you had 1,000 clicks, 1,000 clicks is not 1,000 buys.
No.
If you're lucky, it might be 10 buys.
That's right. Well, and like I said, then once you start generating some results, some clicks, okay, what did you generate? Okay, if it's a sale, it's obvious. But what if you generated somebody, let's say you had a free ebook, and somebody clicked on that, and you sent them the ebook. Are you done?
No, you're not done. Then you got to call them up and follow up and
put them on some type of a touch system. You know, the whole point is a lot of people, they'll say that the system failed when it's generating lots of leads, and they're not doing what they need to do to convert those leads into sales.
Well, here's another factor that...
Because they're not all just going to pick up a phone and say, hey, I want to buy your stuff.
Right. If people think that, you build it and they will come or something, and that's really the farthest from the truth. You got to do a lot of research. As a matter of fact, we talked about you have to A/B test your ads.
Right.
Well, guess what? You got to A/B test the landing pages.
That's right.
So you get these messages on the landing pages, and which ones are working? I mean, just because you made it doesn't mean it's the right message. As a matter of fact, if your conversion rate is sort of low, then you need to start doing lots of A/B testing.
That's right. Well, the other thing that you have to do too is you also have to test your follow-up system too, because again, it's like, do you fish?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you just get a nibble on the hook and you just go jump in the boat, And the bigger the fish, the more you got to work it. I mean, if you've got a high-ticket item, you might have to work that sucker hard. And if you're not willing to do the work, then don't blame the system.
Like if you put on a big shark or whatever, a big tarpon, you might have to working for 3 or 4 hours.
That's what I'm saying. So, if you're not willing to do the work, then you're not going to get the results. So you really got to look at the system from top to bottom, and you got to make sure everything's... Now, that doesn't mean you can't automate some of it, because that's the one thing we try to teach people. That's the beauty of the internet, is you can automate a lot of this stuff. You can have an automated touch system.
You can have an automated touch system. You can actually have the analytics that tell you what's going on. Right. You can go back, and again, there's none of this stuff that it used to be like in the old days, you set it and forget it. I mean, in 2000, you could build something and leave it alone for 3 or 4 years for the most part, and it would just work.
Right.
Today, about every 3 or 4 months, you got to be in there tweaking it a lot. And if you're doing pay-per-click and you're really trying to win and get the most bang for your buck, you got to be in there every other day, seeing what's going on. The last part that I wanted to talk about, and this again, when people are talking about pay-per-click, they often ignore this piece altogether. Organic is very important. As a matter of fact, if you're in pay-per-click and you're above the fold in organic,
you're cooking with gas.
The likelihood of somebody clicking on you is almost 100%. It's like 98%. That means that you're now dominating the page. You're in pay-per-click above the fold. You're in organic above the fold.
Right.
What's not to like?
Well,
I mean, if they're not
they look, they see you.
They're going to click on you no matter what.
So, and then now you got to focus on their experience when they get to you, because that's the other part of it. Because like I said, if you have great visibility and a lousy landing page, it's not going to work.
And there's another piece of this too. They could actually get and contact you and all that other kind of stuff. You also have to take care of the back end to make sure that the back end is closing. If they have a poor customer experience,
that's right.
When you deal with the actual contact, you can lose it there just as easily.
Absolutely.
And as a matter of fact, that's a very commonplace where people, they'll get the order and they'll take 5 or 6 days to ship it. And then you'll see, like in eBay, you see this all the time, where people are complaining that it took too long to get it, or it came in and it was broken. Any number of different things that could be messed up. I know we have about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure that we thank our sponsors before the show is over. So I wanted to...
That was good. If we thank them afterwards, they usually don't get it.
They don't like it afterwards, though. So I want to say, for our medical users out there, MedMasters is the premier online job hunt board and social network community for healthcare and medical professionals. And that includes recruiters. And the big thing is that you can join it for free. It doesn't cost you zip to join it. Of course, Tub King sells the beautiful slipper tubs, the clawfoot tubs, and the therapeutic walk-in tubs. And I know that those therapeutic tubs are really just great for all kinds of ailments, back aches, body aches, you name it. They make the really cool stuff. So that's for our obscene commercial for our clients there.
So I guess it's coming up on time for Worldwide Weird.
We're getting close to the weird. So, The last
How close
5
do you want to
minutes-
get?
The last 5 minutes always gets a little weird.
Well, you were talking about doing pay-per-click. I don't know anything about pay-per-click, but on this week on Worldwide Weird, I want to start off with something I know that you'll really be all over. It's called texting via vodka vapor. So it's the new drunk texting. Believe it or not, researchers at York University in Toronto have developed a way to send text messages to each other using the vapors from vodka. I'm not making this up.
What?
It says how they did it's complex, but basically the two investigators used certain concentrations of vodka to represent the bits 1 and 0, which were picked up by transmitters and fired through the air. I think this is another one of those, you're bored when
You drink it too much.
I guess, or maybe they should keep all eggheads away from the liquors. I don't know.
Well, this is what they were doing when they're taking their break.
Yeah. but as weird as scientists working out a way to text via spirits, like I got an even stranger one, and I already told Nash about this, so he liked this one. Glow-in-the-dark pigs were created by Chinese scientists. I guess they wanted to compete with the vodka texting Toronto Canadian scientists.
So they can find their pigs in the dark.
That's right. You've heard of them when pigs can fly. They can't make them fly yet, but they can make them glow in the dark, damn it.
You need that and vodka, and you got a party.
There you go. You got the party favors going here. It says pig embryos were injected with DNA to generate this freaky effect.
From what? Glowing,
Well, actually, okay, now they can't take complete responsibility for this because they actually got the idea from Turkish researchers who made glowing bunnies back in 2003. Of course, we know what the Turkish researchers were on. It wasn't vodka.
glowing pigs.
Glowing pigs. Now you can have the glowing pigs dancing with the glowing bunnies, I guess,
Going down the rabbit hole.
Like I said, you can't make this stuff up, folks. This is just too funny. But we had some other ones, a couple other ones I just want to talk about. Because, they were having problems with the Somali pirates. In fact, there was a movie with Tom Hanks that just came out not too
Great
recently.
movie, too.
Yeah, and they were trying to use sound to discourage these guys. And it wasn't working, but they've come up with a new way that really seems to be getting on their nerves. They're actually using Britney Spears songs that are being played, and it seems to be scaring the hell out of these Somali pirates.
So I'm sure she's taking credit for that. I know we got about 2 minutes left. So we got some more goodies?
I got one more because it's going to go with your thing. And this is one that's going down under now. And this is an actual video that showed a crazed commuter headbutting moving cars in Australia.
Headbutting moving cars.
Yeah. It says about 7 p.m.
For the side or the front?
For both. In fact, during the video, you can see him jumping around. And he runs up and butts the cars and things like that. Talk about a weird way to have road rage. It says, but the scene unfolded. The scene unfolded after the man crashed his car into an unoccupied Volkswagen sitting in the emergency lane. I think he must have been texting using the vodka vapors.
Wow, crazy stuff.
Well, we're talking about crazy, and people are going postal using the headbutting the cars in Australia. But next week, you said we're going to go postal with touch marketing.
Yeah.
So you're going to be headbutting the computers next week, or is that what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, we're coming in with big guns and start killing everybody or something.
For glowing bunnies?
Everybody. There's only me.
Oh, wait a minute. That's only Nash.
Well, you were wondering why we gave you that T-shirt with the bullseye? You figured it
I
out.
had a little news announcement. It's not why we're aware, but Facebook launched its first and biggest update in 3 years.
All right.
And one of their slants is that they're trying to make it more of a privacy type of thing, so they can start maybe competing again with Chrome.
All right.
Because that's one of the places where they lost their position. Of course, our blog has now approaching 45,000 page views, which is a new milestone for us, and we're still working on breaking that 5,000 a month barrier, if you will. We're almost there. So having said that,
All you glowing pigs and bunnies, working the web to win.